Good afternoon, board members and fellow executives of the Rising Entertainment Corporation. We have a couple of problems that we're going to discuss in today's session, and then we will tackle what the solutions or possible solutions to these problems. First, we want to start off with just letting you know that the topic of conversation in this segment is Gen Y versus Gen X in the workplace, and how do we bridge the gap without capping our profits? So I'll just dive right in. The first problem that I see is that the Generation X manager and the Generation Y employee have conflicting perspectives as it relates to their workplace. And their opposing mental attitudes also attribute to the communication disconnect they often experience. We will further explore the Gen X and the Gen Y work dynamics. First, we'll start off with Sarah. Sarah's mindset has been shaped by her experiences. Upon entering Rising Entertainment, she had to work hard to climb the corporate ladder. Her slow and steady climb to her current role of CMO is indicative of her expectations of her direct reports. And Sarah, as a member of the Gen X community, she's accepted, the roles in the traditional hierarchy, which is more resistant to creativity, innovation, and risk-taking. She feels that time and hard work will facilitate the gateway for expressing fresh ideas and their acceptance. Her way of thinking is a bit antiquated, and it doesn't support an essential willingness to change attitude in our ever-changing global workforce. But Josh, on the other hand, a Gen Yer, he's wired completely different. His generation is trained to always be prepared to deliver the elevator pitch whenever the opportunity presents itself. And in Josh's case, when he encountered Mr. Smithstone that we all know about, he wasn't trying to undermine Sarah, so to speak. It was just basically based on the way he had been programmed. He doesn't understand that his role should consist of him keeping quiet about his creative ideas until he's been with the company for a decade or so. He doesn't look at the CEO as someone that, he'll never have a conversation with or someone that doesn't remember his name. Instead, he believes that great ideas, big or small, should be shared and implemented within the organization. Gen Yers are typically collaborators. Therefore, when they're not allowed to share ideas and exchange information, they're instantly offended. They're also constantly looking for opportunities of advancement. They're self-promoters that are not concerned with branding the corporation, but rather promoting themselves. So let's just recap. We're going to talk about Gen Y's profile as well as Gen X's profile, or should I say the other way around. Gen Xers are typically resistant to change, risk-taking, creativity, and innovation. And then on the other hand, you have the Gen Yers. They're highly technologically savvy. They don't feel inferior to their superiors. They know how to seize the moment. They're the microwave generation. They want and need instant gratification. They have unrealistic confidence. They believe in self-branding and not brand recognition for the company. So now that we have a clear understanding of both profiles, let's go into examining problem number 2. Problem number 2. We want to examine Sarah's interpretation of invest the time. In a nutshell, her interpretation missed the mark. It was completely off base. Sarah's understanding of invest the time was to give a pat on the back or the proverbial high five, that a boy or that a girl. Her definition was superficial at best. She decided that invest the time meant to sugarcoat the truth, to make her employees feel appreciated. However, HR's intent to managers was just what it said. Invest the time in your direct reports to allow them time for idea sharing, constructive feedback, and to create an arena for growth and development. Now, this may be outside of Sarah's comfort zone. I understand that. But this was a time that she should have taken the opportunity. I understand it wasn't afforded to her, but Unbeknownst to Sarah, one of HR's strict directives was to provide middle management with tips on how to better engage the company's entry-level associates. The ITT initiative was born out of the CHRO, which is the Chief Human Resources Officer's annual meeting of peers. The session entailed identifying ways to bridge the gap, which we talked about, between the current management personnel and the fresh new talent within the workforce. Now, ironically, and this is really ironic, Josh was more in line with the company's desire to adopt a strategy that would better engage the millennials than Sarah. While Ashok and Jessica's comment about Sarah not getting it was said in jest to console Josh, they were spot on, because Sarah just doesn't get it. The disconnect in their communication style is a direct result of their experiences in training. Had Sarah taken HR's advice literally to invest the time, it would have uncovered a meaningful dialogue with Josh. Josh would have been allowed to pitch his ideas directly to his manager rather than going outside of the department. Sarah could have provided constructive feedback on his suggestions. She could have also honestly addressed his work performance on his last report instead of stating, great job, when she knows that it was a half job. Josh and Sarah could have had an opportunity to collaborate on their upcoming project in an effort to combine and utilize their creative talent. Josh would no longer feel dejected in his new and eagerly anticipated career because his fresh ideas could be heard. Moreover, the monotonous daily routine that he dreads would not be a reality for him. Investing the time is a benefit for the corporation from the senior executives down to the inexperienced new hire. I hope everybody caught that. Let me say that again. Investing the time is a benefit for the corporation from senior executives all the way down to the inexperienced new hire. Having only the Gen X mentality and approach to solving complex business problems will inevitably leave the organization in a stagnant position. It is actually a disservice to the employee, the company, and to the clients to sugarcoat the truth. Investing the time produces knowledgeable associates, a boost in morale, dynamic customer-facing skills, higher profit margins, and satisfied customers. And the key is satisfied customers. Now, we want to go over some solution to these problems. We've talked about what the issues are. We have a disconnect between Gen X and Gen Y. We know that Sarah completely missed the mark about investing the time. But what can we do? This is the first thing that I am suggesting. We need diversity training. This training will teach Generation X and Generation Y how to successfully coexist within the workplace while respecting the differences in age and approach. Furthermore, diversity training will close the communication gap between the two generations by demonstrating how to effectively email, instant message, text each other company-related information. Millennials have different expectations and different ways of communicating than Gen Xers. They lack social skills because of technology, and, that's all they know. They don't know how to do the face-to-face confrontations and solve conflict. They rather send a text message because it's more comfortable for them. Generational issues definitely should be treated as diversity issues because it's all from the same tree. There is a difference in age and education as well as communication style. So diversity training will address all of these, all of the barriers between the two generations. Let's look at the second solution to these issues. I would like to see Rising Entertainment create a universal language handbook. That means that the handbook will explicitly outline company lingo and initiatives to ensure that all employees have the same interpretation of what's expected, rather than drawing their own conclusions. For example, how Sarah mistook invest the time for sugarcoating. That would eliminate that. Thirdly, I would like to implement Water Cooler Wednesdays. Glad you asked. Water Cooler Wednesdays is essentially a lunch and learn monthly event where C-level executives like us in this room, middle management, which are in this room as well, and senior executives come together in a relaxed environment to share their ideas with each other. This will help to eliminate the feeling of having a mundane daily routine, but rather an enjoyable career where your ideas are not only heard, but put into practice. Gen X cannot continue to do business the way they've always done in the workplace because, technology and consumer habits, they're ever changing. By the same token, Gen Y cannot expect to completely do away with the old because we're in a new era, simply because some tested and tried business practices are still relevant and practical. Therefore, both Gen X and Gen Y must learn how to collaborate on their ideas and efforts and mix some of the old with some of the new to create a dynamic structure that will ultimately harvest success. Fourthly and lastly, Best Buy has been very successful in implementing a program called ROWE, which stands for Results Only Work Environment. And basically what that means is that they allow their associates to work anywhere, anytime, across the globe, as long as their assignments are completed successfully and on time. Now, when Best Buy implemented this, they didn't know how it was going to work. They knew they had to address the problem of the millennials versus Gen Xers, as well as the baby boomers. So they implemented it, and they were able to see that their productivity rose by 90%. That is phenomenal. Their attrition rate decreased by 41%. So this results-only work environment has been tried and tested, by one of the biggest companies in the world, and it works. So again, I stand before you to present to you solutions to a couple of the rising entertainment dilemmas, and we have discussed diversity training, we've discussed a universal language handbook, Water Cooler Wednesdays, and results only work environment. Thank you.